On today's show, Vodacom Tanzania agrees to pay 5.28 billion shillings for the release of its CEO and 4 other employees. And Managing Director of the IMF advocates for the removal of fuel subsidy in Nigeria. Plus, the new World Bank president calls for urgent action to eradicate extreme poverty in Africa. Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated. I am BC Adebayo. Well, let's head straight to the market, starting from Africa, where the all-share index is bouncing in negative territory at intraday. The South African index is down 0.32%, while the EGX 30 ended the week sideways. Kenya also closed up 0.06% on Thursday. And the Dubai stock market slid on Thursday as most of its financial shares dropped, snapping a 10-day winning streak, while other major Gulf markets were closed in the week, or were closed the week mixed. The Dubai index fell 0.63%, led by a 1.7% fall in Emirates NBD ahead of its board meeting scheduled on April the 16th to approve its first quarter financial statement. Qatar's blue chip index was up 0.22%, with Qatar Islamic Bank increasing 2.5% to its highest level in over a decade. The Abu Dhabi index closed 0.1%, with Jaria Marketing gaining 3.2%. That's in Saudi Arabia index, while the Abu Dhabi index actually closed 0.1% lower, as First Abu Dhabi Bank fell 0.7%. And in Europe, stocks opened slightly lower amid caution on global growth and U.S. corporate earnings. Well, let's cross over to Frankfurt, where my colleague Conrad Wilson is standing by to give us updates from the European scene. It's very good to see you, Conrad.
Good to see you again, BC. Hi.
Now let's begin with Uber filing documents for its much-anticipated IPO. It's expected to seek a market value of close to $100 billion, but Uber says it may not be making a profit anytime soon. Now, how are traders in Frankfurt commenting on this?
They're intensively discussing this, of course, BC. It's a very bold move by Uber to come to the market, make their offering, and at the same time saying, and I quote this, it's quite possible that Uber may not achieve profitability. This is really jaw-dropping, especially for, conservative, old-school investors who are used to evaluate businesses according to their earnings. No earnings, high valuation, how should that get together? Uber says it's all about the platform. It's all about the potential. It's all about the money that Uber invests in the future. And remember, how have people on the markets been discussing a company like Amazon, which for many, many years made no profit at all, but it turned out to become one of the most valuable companies in the world, and after all, of course, it is making a lot of profits in many of its businesses. Will Uber be a interesting investment for retail investors when it makes its IPO, when it goes public? That's very, very difficult to say. A major question where no one really has the answer is how much the current investors, the venture capitalists who gave Uber the money so far, will use the IPO for an exit or a partial exit, which means how much they will try to cash in on this IPO. Nobody knows this, and that's the risk that, of course, retail investors have to keep in mind if they consider buying the shares when the IPO happens.
Now, still talking IPO, but this time in Europe, the Frankfurt Stock Exchange today had the first listing of a real estate company in Switzerland. The railway train maker Stadler had its first day of trading. Now, these are much smaller IPOs than Uber, but are they successful?
They are very successful, I have to say. Small companies, but some of the, I would say, small blue chips coming from Europe. The Swiss company, the railway train maker Stadler, it's seeing its shares skyrocketing on the first trading day from 38 to 42 euros. That's, 38 to 42 Swiss francs, of course. And that's an increase of more than 10% above the issue price. Shares in the German Real estate developer Gateway Real Estate, they're not really climbing very much very much higher above the issue price, which was €4. But I can tell you, BC, most people here on the trading floors are considering this positive news. It's good that we are seeing IPOs in the first place, given the very shaky environment that the financial markets are in right now. You know, of course, what companies have to consider is what to make or when to make the IPO. At the moment, valuations are, generally speaking, still relatively high, but nobody knows for how long, given, you know, all the talk about a global slowdown of the economy, especially, of course, the recession concerns in the United States, which are on investors' minds. So that is you know, the backdrop against which people here are talking, and that's why they're really happy about those IPOs.
In other news, Conrad, now China's exports rebounded in March, beating analyst forecasts. How much of a silver lining is this for businesses and investors in Europe?
You know, people here on the trading floors have been discussing this quite a lot. China experts at the stock exchanges here in Europe, because everyone knows that February was a month with many holidays in China. So there was a bit of a natural desire and a natural need of the economy and businesses in China to make up for the inactivity of February during the month of March. So a certain amount of rebound had been expected, but as you said, the rebound was stronger than anticipated, which gives a bit of a silver lining. The problem is that it doesn't really ignite a lot of hope for the coming months, and that has to do, you know, with purchasing managers' indices in China, which are below 50, which indicates, you know, a potentially continuous contraction in especially the manufacturing sector in China, and that means that whatever the development in the coming months will be, it will be rather small. That said, I have to say the German share index DAX is holding up pretty well. It even climbed above 12,000 points, 12,500 points, 12,000 points, sorry for that, 12,000 points again today, which means it's slightly higher than last Friday. A lot of this is driven by hope that the upcoming earnings report season will be positive. JP Morgan already today, the American investment bank, managed to beat analysts' expectations. Let's see what the next week will bring. Many earnings reports to talk about for you guys when you do Business Incorporated.
Fingers crossed, Conrad. Thanks for this update, and do have yourself a great weekend.